Welcome to CRH Talk, where we feature rural health professionals and dive deep into prevention, treatment, and building lasting health.
Welcome everyone to CRH Talk. We're so glad you're here with us. I have an awesome guest and colleague here, Dr. Steve Humphries-Wadsworth. He is the director of our Cedar Mountain Center, but I'm going to have him just introduce himself for those of you who don't know him. He's an awesome guy, so why don't you introduce yourself, Steve, to our audience?
All right, thanks, Ashley. I'm Dr. Steve Humphries-Wadsworth, and I'm the director for Cedar Mountain Center, and that's our residential substance use treatment and co-occurring treatment program. And then I also am director for our outpatient psychiatry and behavioral health department.
You're a busy guy.
I am a busy guy.
A lot of people. We were just going over how many people are on your team. You've got about 33 people with you.
Yeah, about 33 people on our team, and that ranges from our psychiatrists to our therapists to our unit coordinators, case managers, counselors, supervisors. And we've really got somebody for just about every position, as well as our administrative people who keep track of everything for us.
Yeah, and Steve has some awesome news he'll share here shortly, but Steve, I want to remind everyone about your program. I know I keep saying it's yours because you are the director of it all, and you guys have an amazing program, but can you kind of explain why we're unique in the state of Wyoming?
Sure. We're unique in several ways. First off, we're one of only two programs that are attached to a hospital. Of the two programs that are attached to a hospital, we're the only one that has a full array of residential substance use services and outpatient psychiatric and mental health and substance use treatment services. We also have a contract with the state of Wyoming that allows people who meet the income requirements for that contract to be able to receive their services on a sliding fee scale, and sometimes at no cost for those services. Mm-hmm. And in addition to kind of the general services we have some very specific services. One is a medication-assisted treatment program. It's also called a MAT program for people with opioid use disorder. Mm-hmm. And that program requires kind of intensive work with the psychiatrists, the therapists, and our administrative staff. Close work with our pharmacy to manage meds and prescriptions, but to really help people get past the opioid addiction and how that's impacted their life.
Yeah, you guys have so many moving parts. I know we could just talk on that for CRH Talk this morning.
Certainly could.
And I want you to come back and talk about those other services. But right now, I know we just got some really great news.
We did.
And I wanted to share that with everyone listening or watching today. But you just had a great accreditation process, which only happens every 3 years,
Every 3 years, yes.
And it's called our CARF Accreditation.
CARF Accreditation, yes.
Can you just tell our audience, what is CARF?
So CARF is an international accrediting organization. The CARF stands for Commission on the Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities.
Okay.
So they accredit residential substance use programs, mental health programs, outpatient substance use and mental health programs, and a variety of other programs. They're kind of really considered when you meet those standards, it's considered that you are operating at a high level, utilizing best practices, not just in the therapy we provide, but also in the way that we treat people when they walk in the door, and the way we do all of our administrative processes, from how we train people to, even things people don't think about, how we do our fire drills, how we prepare for emergencies.
Okay.
And as well as how we manage meds and prescribe meds and the type of therapies we use.
So we don't have to be CARF accredited, but it's really nice that we are.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
We do not
we
have to be CARF accredited to do what we do, except for our state contract that allows us to provide services on a sliding fee and sometimes no cost. And the state does require us to be CARF accredited for that.
Okay. So so the state just came in and they just surveyed all of us.
Yeah.
And they do that every 3 years?
Every 3 years. And
do you know when they're coming?
We do know when they're coming.
Okay.
It's actually planned out in advance. And it's not actually the state that comes. It's surveyors from CARF. So our surveyors, actually this time one was from Canada. and
wow.
the other is based out of Florida. So the surveyors come from all over too, because the standards are same throughout the world. They, as long as a surveyor is, we got to match up with language, obviously, but
Sure.
other than that, our surveyors could be from anywhere that have as long as they have the training to be a surveyor.
Okay. And I know that you said, he handed me this list and he goes, well, here's some of the strengths that they identified. I've got 25 here. I know you've got a lot over there, but do you want to talk to us maybe just about some of the strengths that they identified? Because I thought these were awesome.
Yeah, certainly. One of the big things that I liked about the strengths they identified is the first thing that they talked about. And I guess I'm going to preface that with a little story. Our clinical surveyor was telling us as she was getting ready to do her report out on strengths. She said, I had so many strengths, I had to talk to Tom, who was the administrative surveyor, and say, is this too many? Because we usually don't have that many strengths that we're listing in reports. And so that was just exciting to hear that before she even told us what they were. And then the first one that she listed, which I thought was just an excellent reflection, and I was glad that they were able to pick up on that. And I say that because this survey was virtual, so it was all done through video.
Okay.
First time we've done a virtual survey, and we were kind of concerned that they weren't going to pick up on certain aspects of how we work, but it was clear from the first thing she said that they did, because she said it was evident that there's a spirit of teamwork cultivated throughout the organization. And that's something we work really hard to have our team of. We have psychiatrists, we have therapists, we have administrative staff, we have unit coordinators, and we have a whole lot of staff, and all those people are involved in the treatment of the client. All those people are involved in giving input to the whole treatment team, and we like to make sure they stay connected and we're communicating well. And so we were really glad they picked up on that.
Oh, yeah. Well, every time I go up there, you guys are always working together as a team, it seems like, and everyone knows what's happening.
Yeah.
But I think that attributes to a lot of great leadership, which you are an awesome leader in this organization. I know you don't like to be told that all the time in front of people, but you are, and you're a light for a lot of people, especially up with your team.
Thank you. It's also easy to be an awesome leader when you got amazing people on your team.
Yeah,
so.
They are awesome.
But then one of the other things that I really appreciated that they saw is they talked about, they saw the things that we did, and that ranges from things like going after state contracts, going after a federal contract to provide the medication-assisted treatment for opiate use disorder. They commented on that they could clearly see that two top priorities for our organization were client wellness and financial stability. And what they meant by that was making services affordable and accessible for people who can come in. For people coming into our residential substance use treatment program under the state contract, they can do that at no cost. And that's a program that can cost up to little over $1,000 a day.
Wow. Yeah. So I know there are 25 different strengths here, and we could go over all those. Was there anything that we needed to improve on or work on that might be a goal for our team?
Sure. You always have a couple things that usually more than a couple. This time we had very few compared to past surveys and others that I've been a part of. One of them that they wanted us to kind of do more work on is just our succession planning and making sure we're able to plan for vacancies or when people have time off to ensure that we have good continuity of care with our patients. We do that, but what CARF wants that we don't do is kind of have a written plan of how we do that.
Got it.
So that's one of the things we need to do. And then one of the other things that they told us, and I love when surveyors make comments like this because it tells me we did really good overall. So I'll kind of use this as an example, but on our treatment plans, we have to have the goals in the client's words. So if the client just says, my goal is to not be on probation, that's the goal we have in the treatment. And to show that, we always put it in quotes. And the surveyor asked us, well, whose quotes are those? We're like, they're the client's. And she said, well, how would I know? And because it's in quotations, she said, well, I need you to put client said. And I always tell my staff that, because people get irritated when it seems nitpicky, and I always tell my staff when we get recommendations like that, that's their CARF surveyor's way of saying, you're doing a really good job, but I'm a surveyor and I got to find something.
Yes.
That was, I know that one's a little bit humorous.
Those are two pretty easy, I would think.
Yeah.
But
pretty easy to solve. And
awesome.
There's a few others, and most of them are kind of on the administrative side of things where we need to do better on our various drills that CARF requires. And that's an area with COVID, and especially with our plant ops department being overwhelmed with other responsibilities during that, we just had a hard time taking care of all the drills.
Sure. Well, is there anything else that you want to share? I just saw that come through, and I wanted to make sure that people understood what it is that we have going on up at Cedar Mountain Center in our behavioral health areas.
Sure. I think the last thing I kind of wanted to end with, because I think this emphasizes both the teamwork, the support of the hospital, and frankly support from the marketing department, Ashley, is in the annual report. You had a story from one of our clients. I'll tear up a little when I say this because it's a very good story. The client was in our residential program, and he had a very difficult time. He'd been in prison. He'd had a rough life and a lot of trauma. And he talked about one day he had a vision. And that was, he was down in this valley, and there was this storm, and it was coming, and it was just going to kill everybody. And he said, and all of a sudden, all these Cedar Mountain Center people come over the top of the hill, and I'm like, get away, it'll kill you. And they're like, no, we got this. And I apologize. I just tear up when I tell this story every time. We got you. We'll get you through this. And he called us storm chasers, and talked about how we just come into the storm, and we saved his life, and we brought him out of that storm. And then you did a little story in the annual report about storm chasers. Mm-hmm. And that was actually one of the things the surveyor saw. And he read that at the close of our survey, and we all teared up.
Oh, that's so great. Well, you guys chase away the life storms that we all go through. I mean, and we just need that extra hand sometimes, and you guys have an awesome program that gives that help, and it's wonderful. And if you're listening, and I just want to say this, if you're struggling with substance abuse or you need some mental health treatment options, the team here has wonderful services. And
I would say we are all extremely passionate about what we do. From our honor recovery event to just our daily work, the things that we do. Our goal is to help people that are working through substance use disorders, mental health disorders, and also to just bring that out. We all have struggles, and to get the stigma away from that. And that's also a big part of what CARF is about, is making people aware, making sure services are performed at a high level, and we did that.
Well, and Steve, thank you for just taking the time on this Friday to come down and talk to us about the success that you had recently with your CARF accreditation process. I do want to have you back on a couple more times this year at least. But upcoming, we're also going to be talking about the awesome equine assisted learning that they do right now within their program. I believe Michelle's going to come down and talk a little bit about that.
Michelle Brenner, she's done a fantastic job with that.
So, but again, thank you for being on CRH Talk with me today. And those of you listening, please share, subscribe, or just leave us some comments about this and what else you might want to hear about our Cedar Mountain Center and what they have going on. So I will also put all the information in the show notes about how to get a hold of Steve and his team if you ever need anything. And we thank you again for listening, and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to CRH Talk. Please subscribe, rate, or share this podcast. Check us out at codyregionalhealth.org and see what services we offer locally in Northwest Wyoming.